Hello everybody, welcome back to TFG Radio Battle Reports. This is John, and it's been a long time since I've done one of these. In fact, I was discussing the other day, and I think I haven't done one of these since 7th edition. I don't remember doing any in 8th edition at the beginning. We were busy doing other stuff. So I have a lot of footage and things from different nights at the store, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. So this is a bunch of games that have been played around our local store on a bunch of different occasions. This format, the video today, what we're going to have is two battle reports. One is going to be between Danny Ruiz, who's also on TFG Radio, and one of the LVO head judges, along with myself and Adam and some others, and his Tyranids against my Imperial Knight list. And another game will be between Jeff Poole, who is a teammate of ours, and who also is sometimes on the show, and who finished in the top 8 at last year's LVO playing Eldari. And it's going to be a game between my knights again and his current Tau build that he's attempting to make work. So first up in my game against Danny Ruiz, we have a Kraken Brigade with Swarmlord, Neurothrope, and Tervagon, 2 times 30 Termagants, 1 unit of 20 Gene Stealers, 3 units of 3 Rippers, Death Leaper, which he's going to forget to deploy in the video when you watch, a Haruspex, 1 times 3 Venithropes, 3 times 1 Mucolids. He's also going to have a Toxicrene, an Exocrine, and a Tyrannofex with Acid Spray. My list is the one basically that I took to Barry Open and took a second place overall with and went undefeated 6-0. Except for I've dropped House Raven and now I play as House Terran. Primarily because of the nerf to both CP Farm and the House Raven strats, just makes that list not as good. So it is a battalion of Astra Militarum, the Loyal 32 as it's called. So I've got 2 company commanders. One of the guys takes the Aquila. Then I've also got 3 units of infantry with mortars. And then I have a Castellan and a Crusader and 2 Gallants in my House Terran detachment. And in this game, the Warlord is the White Gallant, the White Knight, and he has a 2+ armor save as one of his relics, and he has the Land Strider Warlord trait. This is the end of the top of 1, and I didn't do too much with my knights. I wasn't able to kill an entire unit anywhere. We do have a giant hangar in play, and Danny's now moving up to try to kill me off. I killed a bunch of gaunts, but I was not able to kill any specific unit, or the Warlord with the missile. In 8th edition, one of the most important things to learn to do is how to properly screen out the enemy units. In this case, Danny is doing this exceptionally well turn 1. He's managed to screen out and keep my knight, particularly the Warlord Knight, the White Knight, out of being able to get into his units, the ones I really wanted to get to, which were the big bugs right away. I'm also still adjusting to the fact that the Castellan without House Raven is really not as good as it was with House Raven stratagems available to it. So that's a big deal that I'm still adjusting to. So in this game so far, Danny's done a really good job of making sure I can't get to what I need to get to in order to get things done. Alright, this is the end of turn 2, and turn 1, the bottom of Danny's 1, and my knight's gone. It failed to blow up, even though I spent CP just to blow up better, but it didn't work. That's kind of all Danny did. He kind of swarmed the center here, blew up that knight, which is good for him though. So we're going to see how this goes. Right now we're down to, I have 2 CP and Danny has 7 CP. So there's 2 major things that we're trying out here in this game. The first one is obviously the big hangar terrain piece in the center of the board. The second one is we're using the enclosed ruins rules as outlined in the new terrain guidelines from the LVO and ITC. That was put out this week. We recorded this game last week because Danny and several of us are on the judges group, so we're privy to the changes because we helped draft those changes and helped Reese and the other guys create that. So we wanted to try those out and see how they worked in the real world prior to publishing them, and so they're here on display in this video battle report. One of the neat things about the terrain piece is that it keeps everybody out of line of sight, obviously, but also the enclosed ruins part of it means that it's harder for my knights to get to his units that are inside it. So as long as he keeps them in there, they're going to be harder for him to get to. And that's going to become relevant in this game because my army does not have a whole lot of infantry punch that's good up close. Here's the end of the bottom of 2. So on this turn, I was able to kill off one of those big High-Respects and Tyranids and a bunch of Gribblies from both the brown squad and the red squad. I didn't do a whole lot else, but I shot a lot of stuff. So we'll see how this one goes. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about where I'm at in the game. I can't seem to do enough to his army fast enough. And I'm starting to get worried that the big bugs are eventually going to be able to get into and ruin my chances of winning the game. It will come down to if I can keep enough of the big bugs alive to kill them one by one in later turns, then I might be able to whittle him down on secondaries despite the fact that his little bugs will be able to hide inside that hangar.
2 units and hold more.
Yep. Yeah, you're way ahead. So, all right, this turn, Swarm Lord charged in over here. Wasn't able to do much except for 6 wounds. All these guardsmen are dead to Gene Stealers, who then overran and went back. Over here, this guy's got 6 wounds left, and this guy's untouched. So this is the top of 3. Swarm Lord failing to really do anything in this turn for Danny is really problematic for him. If the Crusader had gone down, or the Gallant had gone down, or both, it would probably be a different story. But this does put me on a better footing going forward if I can keep those alive. This is the end of the top of 3. And over here, I moved back, pumped a bunch of shots in the G-Stealers, charged Swarm Lord again, but he's still got 2 wounds left. Over here, killed all the Gribblies off, but I could not get to this guy without consolidating, so he's still alive. And that's about it. This is the end of turn 3, and we called it because I've got another game after this one, and Danny's got to go home. So, as it currently stands, Danny's at 14 points, and I'm at 11. We figure if the game went on, because I had killed Swarm Lord on his turn, and I've got good positioning, and he can't put his bugs inside the enclosed building because of the enclosed ruins rules, that I probably would have won over the course of the next couple of turns. But that was a tough game. Tyranids are definitely good, and the big bugs are definitely good at putting wounds on the knights. So it ended up going pretty well for me. In the end, I was able to do enough damage to Danny's army that we're pretty sure that over the course of the next couple of turns, as long as I ate one big bug at a time to get myself kill more every turn and kill one in the ITC missions, that then I'd probably overtake him in the secondaries without much issue because his bugs simply can't come out of the giant hangar. I am nowhere near as confident in my next game in this video against Jeff and the Tau list he's running. The Tau list he's running will be familiar to those of you who listen to the show. It is basically the list that we had been coaching Tom to play at the SoCal Open. Tom is our resident Tau player. And Jeff has decided to take up basically that list, not entirely in the same form, but in a very similar way, and take it to maybe the Las Vegas Open to try to see how far he can take that Tau list. It's a very, very effective Tau list. So the night list I'm running is the same as in the last game. In fact, we played these games one right after another the other night. The Tau list is a Tau battalion with commander with 4 cyclic ion blasters, 2 cadre fireblades, 3 times 8 fire warrior squads, 2 riptides with heavy burst cannons, smart missile systems, velocity tractors, and counterfire defense systems. Then there's a broadside team with 3 broadsides with high yield missile pods, smart missile systems, and advanced targeting systems. This is where the list deviates from what Tom had been running. Then there's a second Tau battalion with Cold Star Commander with 4 fusions. Then Dark Strider. And another 3 Fire Warrior squads of 8 men apiece. Then there's a Sasea Vanguard with an Ethereal on a hover drone and 3 Firesight Marksmen. We are at the beginning of the game. This is the end of my 1. I went first again in this game, and so far I was able to kill 2 things. Killed 2 squads of Fire Warriors. The Landstrider Knight did fail a 9-inch charge here. He took 81 Overwatch shots and didn't take any damage. So the 2+ armor save is good. And that's basically it. So we're going to see what this Tau army can do to me when it's close. Failing a charge with the Landstrider Warlord Knight was definitely not ideal. And eating a ton of those shots from the Fire Warriors is also pretty crazy. So it's going to be an interesting turn on Jeff's first turn to see just how much damage he's going to be able to put out and do. 81 Overwatch shots was a lot It did get several wounds through, but I was also able to tank a bunch of those in the 2+. But you're going to see also later in the game that failing charges is going to be problematic. All right, this is the end of turn 1, and Jeff put down the Warlord over here with all the tons of shooting from here. The missile broadsides are pretty good. And then he put a couple of wounds over there on that knight, and held 3 objectives to my 2. So he's currently ahead on that. Having played against this army, basically this exact army, on several occasions with Tom at the helm, I know that losing that knight without it doing anything is really going to put me on the back foot in this matchup, and it really it does. All right, here's the end of the top of turn 2, my turn 2, and it did not go that well for me because I failed a 4-inch charge with House Terran and re-rolling one for a CP. Triple ones, that didn't go very well. That's probably spells the end for me. I don't think I can overcome the rest, but we're going to play it out and see. So that's that. In reality, losing that other knight, basically, because I've failed to charge, is going to really hurt for the remainder of this game. I needed that charge to go off pretty badly, and it not happening is going to kind of be the death knell in this game for the rest of my list. Here at the bottom of 2, Jeff polished off that knight that did not make its charge. He put 4 wounds on the Castellan, killed off 2 guardsmen there, so he got 2 kills to my 1. We both hold 3 objectives, so we're tied on that one right now. Jeff is ahead on points, though, in secondaries. I think the most brutal thing about this list that Jeff is playing, this Tau list, is just the insane amount of firepower that it puts out. I don't think most people really who play Tau in the non-competitive sense. I think a lot of the more casual Tau players don't fully understand just how bad it can get for your enemy with the amount of firepower that these things put out. And when you couple that with legitimate firepower in terms of high strength and good AP in things like riptides and broadsides and fusion managers and stuff like that, you're really getting into a list that's going to be highly effective against a lot of other lists. And I'm really surprised, having played against Tau so much, that it doesn't do better in the competitive meta than it does. You're at the bottom of turn 3. I was able to kill 1 unit of fire warriors and put some wounds on another one. Killed off all but 1 drone in that squad of drones there. And that's pretty much it. That's all I was able to do. The Castellan kind of whiffed. The Crusader whiffed too, so it wasn't that great. Let's take a quick moment to talk about terrain. That enclosed ruin in the center in terms of the giant hangar is very dominating on the battlefield in terms of its height. However, the thing I would like to talk or stress is that in lists like Tau and Astra Militarum, the ability to shoot things that are out of line of sight is very important. And I think that a lot of people will need to start to build their lists with that in mind. Now, not every army can do that, so you need to find a way with your army to be able to get into those enclosed ruins in order to figure out a way around the fact that you don't have any of that ignore line of sight shooting. So it's something to be thinking about going forward, especially with the new rules as they are for enclosed ruins in the ITC, and in particular at the Las Vegas Open. All right, at the end of bottom of 3, Jeff was able to put a bunch of wounds on the Castellan, got him down to 9. Knocked out some guys here, but I'm still holding that objective. His commander whiffed, shooting at my guy, who made his 1-5 up save, so that was good. At this point, the writing is basically on the wall for me. I don't really have the ability anymore because I've lost some mortars and some other things to really shoot any of these units that are going to get into that hangar and get to those objectives that are on either side of it. You'll notice there are no objectives on the inside of the enclosed ruin. And his ability to really put damage on the knights is going to effectively take them out of the game very quickly. End of top of 4. And my commander made a brave charge over here and died valiantly on Overwatch. Killed off 1 guy with a mortar, killed off a squad with a Crusader, and the Castellan went to hide. I'm still holding 3 objectives, but so is Jeff. One thing I definitely think I could have taken advantage of in this game, which I did not, was the sheer size of the hangar. So the hangar enclosed ruin terrain piece is big enough to block line of sight to all of my knights. I should have probably, given Jeff's list, held back, hugged that hangar side with those units, with my knights, and made him come to me, rather than go to him. I think that if I'd made him come to me more, the Gallants might have had a chance to chew through some of that stuff and maybe even get into the meat of his army, which is the battle suits and the riptides and those types of things. Instead, by charging forward with those things, I allowed him to kind of eat my army in a piecemeal fashion by feeding it to him, which was a relatively stupid thing to do, given how powerful his list is in terms of shooting. This is the end of Jeff's turn 4, so it's the bottom of 4, and its score is currently 22-12. Jeff's winning, and he's currently dominating the board. Crusader's gone. Castellan survived 4 meltagun shots because his commander continues to not be able to do anything with the meltaguns, which is pretty funny. But other than that, it's looking pretty bleak for me. So like I said, I really did feed Jeff the army one by one, which enabled him to basically just whittle through the army one night at a time, focus fire them down, and really eat the army in pieces, which is not what you want as a knight player to have somebody do to your army at all. And it was really dumb on my part to do that to him. However, that said, the Tau army and that list is extraordinarily good. I think it's probably the best iteration of a Tau list you can find in the competitive scene. And I think it has the potential to do very, very well and go very deep at something like the Las Vegas Open. So I hope you enjoyed our returning to battle reports and the special doubleheader battle report we put together for you, and look for some more in the future.